been alive today, you have seen there is a lot going on right now today, specifically over the last 24 hours that I personally believe is going to bleed into tomorrow. So I want to make sure the audio is good. I think we're okay. I know a couple people were already in here before we started, but I'm assuming we're good with the audio. So let's do a little recap of some of the things we've talked about over the last couple of days, because I believe it's very important that we recap what has been going on. Okay, so Anita says, yeah, you can hear. Thank you, Anita. I appreciate you. The last couple of days, we've talked about what's supposed to happen on June 14th, which happens to be tomorrow. Today is Friday the 13th, by the way. But tomorrow, June 14th, is Flag Day. It's President Trump's birthday, and it's a massive parade. Okay, I'm doing this now for parade in D.C. Leading up to tomorrow, we have had mostly peaceful protests in a lot of blue cities, which we know mostly peaceful protests is synonymous with crapshoot of angry liberal bullshit. That's what they're synonymous. They mean the same thing. Started in LA, and it has gone in numerous blue cities, right? You're not going to find it happening in a red city because that shit will get shut down immediately, especially if you try it here where I live in the Gulf of America portion of Florida. But we talked about how the, what is her name? Oh, I can't remember her name because it doesn't really matter. The lady from Walmart, even though Walmart came out with a whole statement and said they had nothing to do with anything. We'll talk about that later. She posted a whole entire political ad in the New York Times about the No Kings rallies, is what we're going to call them, rallies. That is tomorrow. And there are over 1,800 locations throughout this country where there's supposed to be these protests, these peaceful protests, these mostly peaceful protests tomorrow, basically protesting President Trump, protesting Christy Walton. Thank you, Patty. Protesting patriotism, protesting America. That's what it all comes down to. And only championing for illegal immigrants and for, no God, no country, none of these things. That is what tomorrow is about for this No Kings protesting. They say it's about, making sure, because they believe President Trump thinks he's a king, where President Trump himself came out and said he's no king. He has to go through so many things just to get anything passed. If he was a king, he wouldn't need to go through the House, the Senate. He wouldn't have to do anything. He could just snap his fingers and make it happen, right? So I told you before that I believe that tomorrow is going to be a stay your ass at home kind of situation. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're not going to make me stay inside. And I understand that. I was telling y'all there's areas to the left and right of me that are going to be doing these protests. And I contemplated going to see what was going on. And at the end of the day, I decided that the safety of myself and the safety of my child are obviously way more important. Safety of my husband, way more important than going to see what's going on. Because especially now, I feel like this whole No Kings thing is a cover for what's actually going to happen. So for those of you who don't know, Iran and Israel have basically gone to war with each other. I personally think we are now in World War III. It wasn't Ukraine and Russia. It wasn't, Israel, Gaza, all that stuff. Iran and Israel bombing each other is a huge deal, especially now that we, the United States of America, have put our feet in it on both sides, if you will. We aren't technically in the war between Iran and Israel. You can't bomb each other and not call it a war. But because of the ties that the United States has with Israel, especially lately, and some of the things that have been going on between the United States and Iran, I feel like we are now part of said World War III. We are sticking our foot in it without being the aggressors or the receivers of any of this war action. Right now, let me explain to you why this is how I feel. The protests that have been leading up until tomorrow, a lot of people have said, who is doing this? This is not an organic protest, especially the one in LA and the way they've been moving around. This is not organic. These are things that are being funded by somebody. Now you have George Soros and somebody else that starts with an S that are basically being called into question for funding the LA riot, is what we're going to call that, because it's not a protest, the LA riot, along with these other ones. And there's videos of groups of Hispanic men on buses that are being driven to different parts of the country. There's a lot going on, right? And we've thought, or I've thought, I don't know about y'all, but I've thought that a lot of these things are being done by, we'll use the word sleeper cell, because it really does make sense. And we've talked about this over the last few years, and 3 years this channel has been in existence, 3 years and a few months, February something or other. Somebody pointed out to me a couple days ago of 2022 is when we started here on SquirrelTribe. And if you remember, in the very beginning, it was called Preparing for Survival, because at that time, that's what we were trying to do, prepare for survival, because we did not know what was going on. And I feel like we are back in that situation, but in a completely different sense of the word, because right now we have to worry about what is going to happen in our cities tomorrow. I 100% believe that if you have the ability to stay your ass at home, you need to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is not about protest. Tomorrow is not about peaceful protest. Tomorrow is not about the immigration or illegal immigration. It's not about any of those things. Tomorrow is about personal opinion based off what I see and how I think about things. Tomorrow is going to be about causing destruction. All right. That's what LA has been doing. There's been a lot of destruction in LA, but because of the timing of everything. Okay, I'm trying to keep all my thoughts in order. Y'all know how this works here. So I have a bunch of videos saved. So I want to show you this, okay? This is the practice in DC today of the soldiers that are going to be in tomorrow's parade. This is the practice, and it looks real North Korea, which is what a lot of people are saying. It looks real North Korea. You have a lot of these men and women that are there in Vietnam War style uniforms. Which one was it? Korean War or Vietnam? Vietnam era fatigues. That's what it is. A lot of people are in Vietnam era fatigues for tomorrow. It's going to be a huge thing. I showed you videos of all of the tanks that were being moved into DC, right? And I told you during that video a couple days ago, I said, I know we're being told it's a parade for Flag Day. We're being told it's this and it's that. But because it also happens to coincide with this No Kings thing, I feel like it's more of a cover your ass kind of situation. All right. Then you have today, Friday the 13th, Iran and Israel bombing each other back and forth. The timing of all of these things is not lost on me, and I know it's not lost on y'all, especially with the fact that the United States has been backing Israel so very much with a lot of stuff. Whether you agree with it or not, it has been happening. And you've had President Trump speaking with the leaders of Iran, trying to get them to not have nuclear weapons. But what's crazy is Obama, when he was a president, he gave Iran over $50 billion, which they used to arm themselves, right? And so basically, when you're seeing these bombs going off in the air between Iran and Israel, that is our taxpayer money that has gone to funding this war. Israel has a ton of our weapons, same as Ukraine. I'm sure Iran has them too. So many countries outside of ours have our weapons, whether it's tanks, whether it's planes, helicopters, guns, whatever. It's a very Avengers style thing with Tony Stark, right? If you ever watched Avengers, before I realized they were all woke as hell libtards, or when I was still kind of, I guess, a libtard when they first came out, because I was anyway, reformed libtard. Y'all know this. But it makes me think of Stark Industries in the Avenger movies, where Tony Stark did not realize that it was his weapons that his father had created that were being used to kill people in other countries. It's the same kind of thing. We have some of the greatest weapons you could possibly have, and because we either give them to other countries or use them in other countries and leave them behind, Afghanistan, there are numerous other countries that can arm themselves against us, arm themselves against other countries using our weapons, right? Which automatically makes it seem like we have some part in this. Iran is not going to care that, how do I phrase this? They're not going to care that we as America aren't the ones bombing them. They're going to care that Israel, who is backed by the United States and who is using American weapons, are bombing them, and vice versa, right? That's what it's going to come down to. My personal opinion is that tomorrow is going to be probably one of the more violent days we have seen here in the United States of America in a very, very long time. And y'all know I'm not trying to scare people. This is just the way I look at things based off of everything I do look at that I don't even talk about here. All the stuff we do talk about, because I'm doing this kind of stuff all day long, right? I'm not a journalist, obviously. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm not some of these bigger names or anything like that, but I do pay attention to everything that's going on. And what's crazy is if you get on social media right now, you can see tons of videos of Iran and Israel bombing each other back and forth, but we never really saw anything between Ukraine and Russia. Although they went back and forth for the past however many years, you're not really seeing anything. But right now we're seeing a ton of it between Israel and Iran. And I think it's so that we will back whatever ends up happening with the United States stepping into this war that's popping off between the two of them right now. There is, let me see if I can find everything here. So I showed you that. This is, so from back here, maybe YouTube won't notice it, but this is in Tel Aviv, and this is them shooting off, right? Missiles or bombs or whatever you want to call it. And then also they are then hit with one at the same time. I think this is the right video that it'll show that feels like something out of a movie. It feels like something that isn't real, which then obviously makes me wonder if the videos that we are seeing right now are in actuality things that are happening in real time, or if these are pre-made staged videos. Okay. Sarah Fields over on X posted this, and it's exactly the way I was thinking earlier, and I just found this, and it says, friends, if you have plans in big cities on Saturday, I suggest you cancel. Stay home and stay safe. It's already getting ugly. This event is coordinated to occur simultaneously across the country on Saturday. I have concerns for large cities like Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, and Austin, as well as major cities in other states. No Kings, funded by multiple individuals, including Soros, who is being questioned on this, is also supported and organized by Indivisible, the group responsible for the Tesla vandalism and takedown. They are self-admitted communists with no good intentions. Your plans can wait. And I agree with that, but I think that there's going to be, like I said, a lot of sleeper cells mixed in with everything that's going on. And they have said numerous times that there are a lot of people here from other countries that have been sent here, who have made their way in here to cause havoc at a specific time and day. The Trojan horse is what I call it. Our open borders and us flying people in is a Trojan horse all day long. We've done it to ourselves. Not you and I, but previous administrations have done this to us. They have allowed people in that don't belong here. And I feel like tomorrow we may see how detrimental those decisions have been over time, because I think tomorrow a lot of stuff is going to come to a head. And like I said, the No Kings thing is real. They are having these protests, but I think a lot of people are going to work their way into those protests in order to take them up to the next level, in order to turn them violent, in order to turn them destructive, in conjunction with Israel and Iran fighting, and the fact that DC right now is technically armed to the hilt. They have the military and the tanks there to protect Washington, DC. The timing of it all is ironic beyond all belief. Marvin said there's a pile of military-aged Chinese that crossed the border the last few years. I remember over in California, everybody's paying attention, in Texas and other states, of the Hispanics and people that were coming. That sounded racist as hell. But, you know, a lot of Hispanic people and whoever else was coming through the southern border, but they weren't paying attention to the fact that there were a lot of people from China itself that were coming in through California, because we're so focused over here, they're not paying attention over here. And things are going to work against us as a country. That's the plan, at least. But there is a lot going on. So where's the other one I have here? Hold on, I've got more. No, that's not it. So there's this guy on X named Zeke Arkham, and he made a post about, I said it's buffering. It'll fix itself in a second, hopefully. We'll give it a second and see what happens. Y'all let me know if we're good. I don't know. It's about the storm here, so I'm going to keep going, and maybe it'll fix itself in just a second. So we're just going to keep it moving. The closed caption should pick it up a little bit later if this is still looking wonky. But the name Zeke, he says he's a police officer, okay? And he says the truth is these upcoming protests aren't about illegal immigration, ICE, free Palestine, or illness and anarchy to our doorstep and bringing down the greatest president of our lifetime. To my family in blue, whether you're on duty, retired and working as a consultant, military and working outside, or just a cop, spouse, or relative who has to watch their loved one leave you and walk into this hornet's nest, please stay safe and watch out for each other. And I wanted to bring that to your attention because there will be a lot of people tomorrow who are going to be out there, and it's going to be an issue with safety. So you guys are all saying it's still messed up. I know I picked a really crappy spot to do this in, but I've done here numerous times and it's worked well. So hopefully it will fix itself, or they don't like my conversation. So you know how YouTube does when they don't like what you're saying, they try to make it hard for people to hear you or see you. But tomorrow, where is this? I'm not going to read you what Candace Owens said because it's not worth it. And the Hodge twins are posting a lot of weird stuff too. But Laura Loomer, as much as I dislike her, just FYI, I don't trust her. I don't like her. She did post something that I'm going to share. Said, be very careful to in American cities and locations, especially if you're going to be in DC. On many sleeper cells in the U.S., Iranian proxies from Hamas and Hezbollah will likely retaliate on U.S. soil to kill Americans in acts of Islamic terror as a form of retaliation on the Israeli airstrikes. Prime locations are synagogues, churches, and public populated tourist destinations. There are millions of jihadi sleeper cells in our country thanks to the Democrats' open border policies. It would be a nice weekend to just stay home. So that's what I'm saying to y'all. There are a lot of people who will not have the ability to just stay home. There are going to be people like the police officers, the firefighters, ambulance drivers, numerous others, and regular ass people who have to go to work, regular ass people who have to leave their homes tomorrow for whatever reason it is, that we need to really keep everybody in our thoughts and prayers tomorrow, because no matter where you are, there's going to be a lot of issues with the amount of protests and whatnot that are going on. So I just want everybody to really pay attention to that and be mindful of where you are and what's around you. And if you have the ability, we're eliminated by Israel, which I think come out and said that people are still alive. They don't know if everybody's still alive from the attack of Israel towards us. There will be severe consequences for us as the United States from what's going on in Israel and Iran. Look, I guess it's messed up, so I'm going to let you guys go, because if it's going to keep going wonky, there's no point, and we'll see again first thing in the morning to have a better conversation here. So I love y'all. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. They don't want me having this conversation, I guess, but it is what it is. So I love y'all.